My next question, will there be a new Sino-Japanese war? The current disputes between Japan and China over Senkaku or Tiaoyi, and between China and South Korea over Dokdo Takeshima, remind us that unlike Europe, although 67 years have passed since the end of the Second World War, there has been no closure and no historic reconciliation between the former adversaries. There are two competing narratives between Japan and China concerning the ownership of these islands. There are three ways to calm the situation. The first way is for China and Japan to agree to take their dispute to a court of law, which is not likely, since Japan says there's no dispute, and the Chinese policy is not to take sovereignty disputes to a court of law. The second way is possible. The second way is to put aside the sovereignty claims and go for joint development. The third way is the most probable, which is for the two sides to disengage and go back to the rules of engagement which were agreed between China and Japan when they normalized relations in 1972. I do, however, have a worry. The simultaneous rise of nationalism, both in Japan and in China, is a worry. However, given the enormous stake which China and Japan have, I'm relatively optimistic that they will not allow things to get out of hand. I'm also very encouraged by the fact that 3 days ago, on the 20th of November, the leaders of China, Japan, and South Korea met on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Phnom Penh and reaffirmed the commitment to begin to negotiate a trilateral free trade agreement between them. So maybe for Asia, economic integration is the means to bring about eventually a historic reconciliation between China and Japan and between Japan and Korea. Let me go to my third question. Will the European integration project succeed or fail? Will the euro survive? It is often forgotten that the current crisis in Europe was actually made in America. Because of contagion, the crisis in America spread across the Atlantic and attacked those European and Eurozone economies whose public finances are not in good order. As a result, countries in Europe with unsustainable debt levels were punished by the market. The crisis has also reminded us and the Europeans that you cannot have monetary union without common fiscal discipline. And so the recent adoption by the Eurozone countries of a fiscal discipline compact is a step in the right direction. I want to share with you 3 observations about Europe, which are somewhat contrary to the Straits Times conventional wisdom. And I'm sorry that Jonathan is not here to debate me. But if you have studied European history, as I've tried to do, you will be convinced that the European integration project will not fail. Because at the bottom, the European integration project is not about economic, it's about peace. It's about the post-Second World War generation of European leaders who were determined to put an end to war in Europe and to institutionalize peace. I think they will pay any price to ensure that the European integration project does not fail. As a result of the current crisis, I think European integration will become even closer and tighter. This has already caused some discomfort to countries like the United Kingdom. And the Straits Times has been talking about the possibility of the United Kingdom exiting the European Union. I'm not willing to speculate whether this will happen or not, but I will say that UK outside the EU can live happily, as Switzerland and Norway do, but it will be a great loss. And I would also say, and Jonathan will disagree with this, that the UK needs the EU more than the EU needs the UK. Second, I believe the euro will survive and will become a strong currency. I am, however, not prepared to say whether Greece will stay within the eurozone or exit the zone. Greece never qualified to join in the first place if it had not manipulated its books. Third, and I want to remind my friends in Straits Times not to tarnish all European countries with the same brush. Not all European countries are in crisis. And may I remind all of you that according to the World Economic Forum's 1912 index of the most competitive economies in the world, 5 of the 10 most competitive economies in the world are European. So, it's not the whole continent that's in crisis. However, for some European countries, massive unemployment caused by rigid labor markets and a mismatch of skills between what the education system provides and what the market needs is a major challenge. Let me now turn to my fourth question. Has ASEAN recovered its credibility? And will ASEAN continue to lead our regional institutions? As you know, in July this year, ASEAN's credibility suffered a setback when, for the first time in 45 years, the ASEAN foreign ministers adjourned their annual meeting without adopting a joint communique. This was a wake-up call for China and for ASEAN. You may ask, why for China? I think it was a wake-up call for China because it has reminded China that a divided and weak ASEAN is not in China's national interest. In my view, China's national interests are best served by a peaceful and united Southeast Asia. It is a wake-up call for ASEAN because without unity, ASEAN is nothing. It is because we are united that we are able to act as a convener and facilitator of regional institutions. I'm happy to report to you that at the recently concluded 12th ASEAN Summit in Phnom Penh, ASEAN leaders have reaffirmed their commitment to maintain ASEAN unity and ASEAN centrality in the region's institutions. ASEAN adopted a Declaration of Human Rights, which has received very little praise, not even from the Straits Times. But I ask you to step back 5 years. 5 years ago, was it conceivable to any of you that ASEAN would have a Commission on Human Rights? When even a progressive country like Singapore doesn't have one? It was unthinkable, right? Was it conceivable to you 5 years ago that ASEAN, with all the problems in our family, will have the political will to adopt a Declaration of Human Rights? It was unthinkable. So let's not be negative and say, it's not a great document. It is a miraculous development and is a step in the right direction. In Phnom Penh, we also reaffirmed that ASEAN economic integration will be completed by 31st December 2015, by which time, if we succeed, by which time the 10 ASEAN economy will be integrated into one. And we will have a single market and a single production platform. And again, this is a very considerable achievement if we succeed,